Hi, I'm Laura Thornton, and to Hear Every Mile, presented by Rally. This is the show where we explore the voices, words, music, and moments that carry us through the hardest miles in races and in life. Rally is powering the ability to hear every mile, helping us bring these stories to life because every mile has a story worth hearing. Today, I'm joined by LiAnn Anderson, a fellow runner who's getting ready to take on the Sydney Marathon. But before we get to Sydney, I want you to get to know Leanne and the people, the words, the music, and the moments that she'll be carrying with her when those miles get hard. Leanne, I am so happy that you're here today to see. Before we talk running, before we talk Sydney, which is so exciting, who is Leanne when she's not wearing running shoes?
I am a mom of four and I work full time. I work accounts payable. So I work at a desk job, 8 hours a day, sitting in front of a computer. So running is my outlet after working a long day and getting back on my feet.
That's so relatable. So relatable. We're sitting there stagnant over a desk all day and our energy has nowhere to go. So that you have four kiddos. I happen to know that you actually have one who's also a runner. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
actually, all four of them have run with us at one point or another, but she is my big runner. She is doing Chicago and London marathons with me coming up. And she
My
actually
gosh.
did a 20-mile run with me this morning.
Breaking news. First
Yep.
of all, we talked about the fact that you were going to have this is going to be your longest before Sydney, right? Yeah. I've got mine on deck tomorrow. So I feel that. Okay. So she ran the 20-mile run with you.
Yes, she did.
Wow. That's got to be a different type of joy. I have said in interviews that I hope to be able to run with my kids one day and their kids. And my kiddos, I've run 5K with a couple of my kids. I coached both my sons in cross country, but to have 20 miles with your daughter, that's got to bring you a new level of joy.
It is. She helps pace me because she is a lot faster, but she sticks with me and she encourages me as we go, which is great because I need it.
Yeah.
Because 20 miles is pretty dang hard. And she does bring a lot of joy because at every stoplight, she is holding her phone up and using it as a microphone and singing and dancing. And the cars all around us passing by are probably thinking she is absolutely nuts, but it's so much fun.
My
She's
son's
17.
almost 17. What is your 17-year-old singing to at a stoplight?
Oh, honestly, I couldn't even tell you. I can't even understand half the words that are coming out of her mouth. So I don't know. I don't know at this point. She'll listen to some of my music. So she's got Green Day playing, or she'll have, oh gosh, what is a big one? Pink. She'll listen to Pink. It's all sorts of random stuff. And it's so much fun.
All right. A plus parenting. She's been exposed to Green Day, Pink. I'm on board with all that so far. Nice job. So what is something about you that people who only know runner Leanne would never guess about you?
Oh, I don't fit the typical accountant sort of image because I used to have purple hair and I'm actually probably going to go back to purple pretty soon. And I've got some tattoos, and that's not a norm thing for accountants because we're all pretty stodgy. So, yeah,
You just shocked me right now. The purple hair are you going to have purple in Sydney?
probably not. Most likely
Okay.
a reddish color.
I never
Too
would have
dark.
guessed this, actually. This is awesome. And you're tatted up too.
Yes, I have 5 tattoos.
We're going to have to compare tattoos in Sydney. Are any of them running related?
Not yet, but as I make my way through the majors, I would like to have a world majors marathon inspired tattoo. So
Yep.
still thinking about that one.
Yep.
My daughter, she will be 18 when she goes to London and she's already talking about getting a tattoo. So we'll see.
You could time that so you both could technically get the same tattoo in
That's
Orlando.
what
Yeah. Which I don't know how I didn't make the connection. Maybe I did and I forgot. We're both running Sydney and London. So I'll get to shake it out with you at both cities.
Absolutely. And then we also have, or I have Chicago and New York this year as well. So it is a very big year.
Wait, you're also doing New York? Are you following Leanne? Are you on the Laura tour? Okay, so I get to see you in New
Yep.
York. I get to see you in Sydney, then New York, then London. This is so exciting. I was not prepared for this. Have you run Chicago before?
No, I have not. Actually, Sydney is going to be my fourth marathon ever. So my first was London in 2025. Then I did LA Marathon this year and went to Cape Town. And now I'm going to Sydney. Very big year.
You've really hit the jackpot with your marathons, by the way. You didn't do the 250 person marathon that somebody in this conversation did, where they were cleaning up aid tables before the race was even over. Gotten so spoiled. Wow.
It's
That's
been
awesome.
an amazing run.
I see what you did there. I see what you did. So how did running find you?
To be honest, it was rough. I started running to get through a divorce. It helped me find a better mental space, and it brought me a lot of joy. And when I didn't have my kids, because I have a 50-50 custody, it was my way of kind of coping without them and doing something that was active and productive. Yeah.
So I can relate to this. My sons, half the time are with their dad and half the time with me. And it's been that way since they were 5 and 3.
Yep.
And when they're that little, it's devastating because you're thinking about them when they're not with you and worried about them. And yeah, I completely relate to that. So you started lacing up to give, again, your emotions a place to go. When do you tell me the point where you stopped feeling like someone who runs and then actually thought to yourself, oh, I'm actually a runner?
Okay. So I started running in 2015, 2016, and I did my first race 2016 in June. So I've been kind of dabbling in it for the last 10 years or so, but I didn't feel like a truly accomplished runner until I did my first marathon, which is surprising. So I think it was just one of those bucket list items that I felt like I needed to complete to hit that magic moment to become a runner. And oh my goodness, did it take off?
I would say so. My goodness. Why do you think it is, though, that you're not the first person to tell me that it wasn't until after you actually ran a marathon that you saw yourself as a runner, because the distance of 5K is hard, 10K is hard, half is hard. But so many people I've talked to say it was the marathon, which it's not. That's actually not the case. That's not what makes you a runner. But why do you think that we feel like that?
Because I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, but then when we tell other people that we run, they're like, oh, have you won a race? Have you done a marathon? Have you done all these things? Like they have, a perception of what a runner is. And I think that kind of sits in the back of your head and it makes you think, if I haven't done all these XYZ things, then I'm not really a runner. One of those things would be, have you ever lost a toenail, or have you ever had blackened toenails? Whatever. One of those weird bucket list things I have.
So I think you're right, though. Like what's your time? Have you won a race? If I don't ever, what?
It's fun going out there. But no, I will never hit the podium. I got really close one time, but yeah, still missed it. And that's not one of those bucket list things for me, just because I know I am a slower runner. I have a heart condition. I have asthma. I have limited lung function now. So, we're limited by certain things. So when somebody asks, what is your time? Or have you won a race? Nope, we're not going to hit that one. And that's okay.
Yeah, you really have such an interesting story. For everybody listening, Leanne and I are both rad rabbits. And so Leanne got to share her story with Rabbit how many years ago was it that article was published? So I had the privilege of reading a little bit of background on Leanne, and I'm going to have you share your story in just a couple minutes. But there, there have been so many odds stacked against you. And what's really fascinating to me is that you keep standing up. I don't know if you ever had that toy or kids ever had the toy that was the inflatable that would knock down and bounce back up. If you know what I'm
Yep.
talking about, that's you. So let's just start with your journey. When did your health challenges really begin?
In 2020, so I was pregnant, 36 weeks, and I ended up in the ICU with COVID. So this was at the beginning, and nobody really knew exactly how to treat it just yet. So I had driven myself to the ER because I was having a lot of problems breathing. So oh gosh, it was June 20th. I remember the date because it was just after my husband's birthday. And when I got there, they didn't know what to do with me yet because I was pregnant and I had COVID. So they left me in the ER on an oxygen mask, and they were able to throw together one of those negative pressure rooms, which they had at the time. And I had all these doctors and nurses and everyone coming in because I was their first pregnant COVID patient at Saddleback Memorial.
So pause right there for just a second. So 36 weeks is
Yep.
already a pretty scary time as a pregnant mama because you want them to stay in there a little bit longer, yet you're probably
Yep.
ready to have them at this point, and it's June. So you're already uncomfortable. And then now you have something that nobody really knows what to do with you because nobody has really been exposed to it. Nonetheless, with a pregnant mom, oh my
Yep.
gosh.
So after they had me in the room and they were checking all my vitals, they found that I was having such a difficult time breathing and taking in enough oxygen that my baby was also not getting enough oxygen. So I ended up with an emergency C-section at 36 weeks. And my little guy went to NICU, and I stayed in ICU recovering from the C-section. At the time, I was still coughing and I had double pneumonia and basically everything you could think. uh, It went wrong. So, because I was still coughing and I had the staples in my stomach, they had given me a 10-pound sandbag basically to put over my stomach on these staples to make sure I wouldn't blow them out because I was coughing so hard because of COVID. So, it was just absolutely traumatic. And then my little guy, he was in NICU, and the nurses were absolutely incredible. Oh, goodness. The nurses, they would pin little notes to my little guy so I could see them. And it was really sweet. It was really beautiful. But I still wish I could have held my baby boy. And I wasn't able to do that until we were both released from the hospital. He was released a little bit before me. And we actually had to fly my mother-in-law from Alabama to California because they wouldn't release him to anyone who was COVID positive. And unfortunately, my husband, Mike, was COVID positive at the time. So yeah, really rough. So they said that either a family member could take him or he would have to go to foster care until Mike and I were no longer positive. So yep, mother-in-law came out and took care of him while we both recuperated, and it was certainly something.
How many weeks was it, or how many days was it before you got to hold your baby?
Oh gosh, probably 2 weeks after he was born, I finally got to hold him, and I still had to wear a mask because I was still positive but no longer contagious because the virus can stick in your system for quite a while afterwards. So yeah, he didn't actually see my face for close to a month.
He knew your voice, though. He knew you were
Yes,
mom. Okay, so that kicked it off of a pretty tough road. And by the way, for everybody, I got to meet little Declan a couple weeks ago, and he seems to be doing pretty darn well these days.
He's a very smart little guy, very healthy.
Yeah. And that's what we want as moms. But I had a similar experience with a health scare with my daughter right after I had her. And I'll spare everybody the details, but I coded on the table. I actually don't remember anything past like going in to have her. And then fortunately, the nurse who was in the room saved my life. She saw that I was losing a lot of blood. And so she pressed the button in the hospital. And I don't know what
Oh,
happened after that. And so they had also, my daughter's breathing had started to have issues. And I guess they took her and my boys were in the room when I got sick, and my mom and dad, and I think my sister was in the room too. And I like lucky to be here right now. But I remember having a lot of guilt around that, not being able to hold her that day or not
yeah.
really remembering that day for a while. And so I can't imagine 2 weeks of not being able to hold my baby. So I know that's going to take healing, probably maybe decades, because that's a really
Well,
important time. But you're here with us. What are the lasting effects now that how has it
oh.
impacted you?
So I have about 75% of my lung function left, and I have asthma. So I always have to run with an inhaler. Every once in a while, when I do forget it, it makes running very difficult. Sometimes I just absolutely have to stop. Luckily, I've never had an emergency while on a run. That's always in the back of my mind. I have a
Sure.
heart rate monitor because I have a murmur, and I have a history of, well, a familial history of heart disease in my family. So that's another thing that I have to be cautious of. My watch or something will be telling me that my heart rate is too high, and I will start getting dizzy or I will feel faint. So there's a lot of things that keep me a little bit slower than perhaps I maybe should be. Me go with it.
I don't know. I hope that you don't ever think about yourself in that way. One of the things, oh, the app that they've given us for the mindset training. Have you started that yet?
I have not.
Okay, so
What
we
am I
all have
missing?
access. Okay, you need to check to Sham. Sydney Marathon
Okay.
is the first marathon to give all of the participants a free mindset training. It's an app.
Okay.
And I've started to go through it. And one of the things that they ask you questions in the beginning, and they tailor this training, mindset training, around what your needs are. And so for me, mine is giving up and being really disappointed in myself, like when things get hard that I don't feel like I can push through. And so one of the things I know for me that I'm practicing is how I talk to myself. And it's almost like I shared with my run crew this morning, it's almost a dissociation of you're having to now talk to yourself the way you would a friend. And so I'm bringing that up because when I hear you saying of like almost apologetically for being slow, you could be on the
Yep.
couch right now, Netflix and chilling, and you are out there running world major marathons. So I know if I ever hear you apologize for your speed again, I'm going to be like, what did you just say? I know I didn't just hear that. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Nothing. Nothing. I heard nothing because you are a baddie. And we're going to continue to go down your other challenges because as if this wasn't enough, you've had more hits. So tell us about that.
A literal hit. I
Good.
was in a pretty bad car accident in
Thank you for making a
2021.
joke of that now. So now I'm going to look like
That's what I
on
do.
the recording.
It's all good. So yeah, we took a pretty hard hit in 2021. We were rear-ended on the freeway. There was a rollover crash that had happened just in front of us. Luckily, Mike, he was driving and he was able to stop in time. But the person behind us plowed into us at freeway speed and pushed our big Explorer into the car in front of us. So I ended up with a concussion and reverse neck vertebrae. So it's supposed to be C-shaped,
Yeah.
and now it's basically all backwards. Oh, I was in physical therapy for quite a while. And yeah, the neck vertebrae are not going back. They are as is. And I had some bulging discs still in my lower back. So I have pretty much permanent lower back pain, which makes working pretty darn difficult, sitting in a, desk 8 hours a day, hunched over computer. And then running, it makes it a little more difficult too. Again, you just sort of push through everything and you have your aches and pains as a runner. It's one more thing to add to it, right?
I don't know, but again, you continue to choose hard and you
Yeah.
continue to choose things that are going to challenge your body, your mind. I'm so impressed by your will and your grit and who you are as a human, because again, the human, I don't even know if it's the way that we have evolved or a mindset. I don't even know what's happened, but I think so many of us, when things get hard, we have this instinct to pull back when things get hard, when things get scary, when things are uncomfortable. And you're leaning in and you're saying, yes, this sucks. And I'm doing it anyway.
Yep. Yep. Because I know I have my kids watching.
Uh, that's what I wanted to know was why. So you have a 17-year-old, you have a 6-year-old. Who are the two missing that are here that I need to know about?
16 and 11. So my girl is my oldest, and I have the 3 boys.
You have 3 boys? Okay.
I don't want to give up.
Yeah. And I was going to say, your daughter, your 17-year-old and your 16-year-old are old enough to make sense of how amazing what you've overcome is. They're old enough. Do they ever talk about that with you? Is that something that you guys discuss? Does it come up?
The 17-year-old, yes. The 16-year-old, he is more interested in electronics and going fishing and putting off everything. So not quite with that one.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's appropriate for his age and what he's interested in. I say that because I think that what you're laying down right now is something that you may not see the impact of it until your daughter, if she wants to be a mom, until she's got a family and kiddos, and you see that come out in her and your boys, that resilience. And I found that with my mom now, like growing up, and my mom was always there. I couldn't get away with really anything because my mom was always there. Always. And if she wasn't there, she would find out about it. Right. It's like, Mom, no. But now I feel like she was always there.
Yeah.
And always showing us the right way. And you're showing so much. So you had this car accident. You're now running all over the world in spite of these things. And you were potentially going to run the Sydney Marathon last year. And you made the decision not to. So can we talk a little bit about that and what happened?
Yeah, my dad had been sick for quite a while. And I just had a bad feeling that if I did go with Mike, that something catastrophic happened. And it turns out that my dad passed just before the Sydney Marathon. So on August 24th of 2025, we lost my dad. So yeah, this year I will be running in his honor. And I always wear his dog tag. So
What branch was he in?
Army.
Do you mind sharing his first name with me?
James, but he went by Jim.
Jim. Okay. So you're running for Jim. You're carrying him. Literally, you're carrying his dog tags. And I lost my dad October 26th of 2025. So I too am going to be running in memory of my dad. The race that I was running literally when my dad died was my qualifier for New York. And so my New York is for my dad, and Sydney was my mom's bucket list trip, Australia. and I'm running this one for her. We both will be carrying our dads on the other side of the world. What did your dad think of you these last few years running?
He thought us a little crazy, but he was always proud of
Relatable. I think that with our dads, that at least now I get it now that my dad isn't here anymore, but I think that my dad still looked at me like I was a little girl. And I know he didn't understand it either. And I hadn't run for very long before he passed, but I ran Chicago and he texted the group before I was in the corral and he said, good luck, Laura. I hope you win your race. Like I was really upset with him for the longest time because I was like, do you not get it? I can't win a race with 50,000 people. And I was really mad about this. And it took me until he passed for me to realize that he believed in me and lining up at that start line was the win. And I want you to know if your dad doesn't care about your speed, your dad's proud of you. And I know that my dad is going to be watching and is proud of me. And I think that it'll probably get us through some of those harder times. They say is flat and quiet and you don't hear the crowds. But my plan is when it's flat and it's quiet and I don't hear the crowds, that I'm going to picture my dad there at the other side, just waiting for me to get to him.
Beautiful.
That's my plan. That's my plan when things get tough. So I don't think I've missed anything in this absolutely bumpy road that you've had. I hope not, right? Did I leave anything out here?
I think we touched everything. We got first, we got kids, we got, oh my gosh, everything.
We touched on it, which if any of you haven't picked up on this, her husband, Mike, is a runner. He's also a rad rabbit. And this is so cool. I can't wait to share this with everybody. Okay. For those of you who, like me, get creeped out by people messaging me on Strava, Leanne, you have an appreciation for Strava. Why is that?
I do. So Mike and I met through Strava and we had talked over Strava for, oh gosh, probably a couple months, maybe 3 months. And then we had planned to meet up at a race and run it together. So our first date was the OC half marathon in 2017. And it was the worst weather. So it was raining and it was hailing at the start. I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrific. And we're still going to do this. Like we do, we push through all this awful weather. And at the end, the sun came out and there was rainbows. So it was like, oh my gosh, how perfect is this? And even though he's so much faster than me, he stuck with me and I ended up with my PR at that half marathon. And we have been running together ever since. And we just celebrated our 6th wedding anniversary on Wednesday. So yes, I love Strava.
And Strava knows though, like they know that you guys met there, right?
And OC has put it on their website and on various Facebook posts that that's where we met.
In case people, don't you worry, I will be tagging Strava for this episode just to make sure that they remember. Okay, just in case I forgot. Okay, so give me the honest version of Leanne during marathon training. Like, what are some weird habits or rituals or obsessions or snacks or superstitions, anything that's become completely normal to you that would not be to anybody else?
I'm not sure if it's not normal, but I always have a gallon of chocolate milk waiting for us at the end of a long run. So we have a big glass of chocolate milk after most of our long runs because I love sugar and it is a great after run drink because you have your protein and you have your sugars and it just tastes good. So that's one of my things. We usually have one of my favorite things after OC Marathon or in Long Beach is finding the True Moo truck and getting chocolate milk. That is one of my favorite
I
things.
think I'm going to have
Milk.
to get some chocolate milk because I don't think I have any here for my run tomorrow. So thank you as a
Oh,
reminder.
not sure if you've heard of the Liquid IV Grillo's pickles flavored Liquid IV, but anything pickles is really good. So my daughter and I usually have pickles or our pickle Liquid IV. And
Okay, you need to.
yep.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what else. I love a good steak after a long run at the end of the night. Yeah, steak and green beans and rice. That is a go-to meal for after a long run.
I can get down with that too. I need a while though. I can't eat. I always tease my husband that my seventh stomach opens up after about 3 hours. So I'll come home, I'll
Yes,
eat
for dinner.
4.
Oh, little.
Okay. Yeah. So ahead of Sydney, little fun fact for everybody. So I have a Pop-Tart, a pack of Pop-Tarts, let's be honest, before I do my long run. Cherry flavor, by the way, is the elite Pop-Tart flavor, and I won't take any other. There's no arguments about it. Just telling you. Cherry is it. Okay. Final answer. But I recently, as in yesterday, had a little bit of a panic because I was like, can I get Pop-Tarts in Australia? And apparently,
Okay.
yes, I can acquire them
Okay.
in Australia. So as soon as I
Fabulous.
land, yeah. So you have had this kind of 6 years of back-to-back, seemingly one thing after the other that's happened. And I would think that would probably give you many of these moments. But is there one moment that you can think of where you genuinely, and it could be in any of your training runs or your races, you weren't sure that you would be able to keep going? And I'd love to know like what you were hearing in that moment.
Oh, during this training block or just any training?
It could be race day, it could be a training block, anything.
You know what? Honestly, when I was in the hospital, I wasn't sure I was going to make it out. So, yeah, I did something a little crazy during that time. I paid a bunch of bills because that's what I was thinking about was leaving everybody behind. So I ended up paying a few months in advance for mortgage and HOA and all this sort of stuff. And all I could think about was, if I made it out, I wanted to do a whole lot better, if that makes sense. Whether that was with my kids or honestly training and running, I wanted to be a better version of myself.
Yeah, because you got a second chance.
And not everybody did.
Not everybody does. And you got a second chance. And the little that I know, I'd like to think that you're making the most of it. And you're really doing a great
Hope
job.
so.
Yeah, you are. So when things do get hard, like I said, whether it's in Sydney or it's those bridges in New York, which we will be climbing 5 times, whenever it is, when things get hard, who is a voice that you carry with you?
It would be my dad and my daughter, actually, because my dad was always encouraging me, and my daughter still is. He does this thing. She calls it her rabbit, and she will sprint up hills or just basically anywhere and tell me to come catch her. And that is her way of motivating me to go faster and work on my intervals and all these crazy things. I'm like, okay, if I ever catch you, I'm pushing you to the next bush. Just because that is our relationship. We encourage each other, and yeah, we're all a little nutty.
My best friend says to me anytime we hit a hill, she's, okay, run up this hill like your dog would. And the first time she said it, I'm like, what are you talking about? Crazy lady. She says, like a dog, when they run hills, they're so excited. They're running. They're giving it everything. They're joyous. Their tongues are hanging out of their mouth. Their ears are flapping. Just have fun with it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
perspective changes everything, right? You've got
It
your
does.
daughter. Yeah, you're going to
Yeah.
carry her. Now, are you planning on using Rally to have her record some messages so that you can hear her in your ear?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want each
Okay.
of my kids to record a little something for me, whether it's silly
Yes.
or whatever. Just, I want to hear their voices and running.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
You've got to. I actually sent out my rally link today to my family. I opened it up to my family first and then all my friends and then just my other kind of extended work network, etc. I hope that you do picture your daughter telling you to chase her when we're going up that bridge, those hills.
Yep. I think
Like
that's what I
I
need to do. It's a fabulous suggestion. Come
yeah,
catch.
and I think that so you get to run London or you get to run Chicago with her and London with her next year. Let me get that
Yep.
right. Okay. I got it right. New
Yep.
York, you're running. Now, Mike is running Sydney.
And we've already got Shanghai halfway planned. There's a lot going on.
Does he already have his 6 stars? So you also have Berlin to go,
Yes, and
right?
Tokyo
And Tokyo. Okay, so you and I, in Boston,
and
right?
Boston. I've got a ways to go.
We're in the same boat because I only have 1 star. After this year, I'll have 3, and then London will be 4. So I think we're going to be in really similar boats. I just want you to, at some point in the next couple of weeks, when nobody's around, go to your car and do this because I did this today. Say out loud all the things to yourself that you are doing to get ready this next year, or even just to get ready for the Sydney Marathon. For example, I said out loud today, my best friend is coming over tomorrow morning at 4:50 a.m. so that we can leave the house and start running by 5:15 a.m. to beat the heat, to go run for 3.5 hours. I would have told you, like, you're out of your mind. Okay. Then, Leanne, now I'm talking to you. In just a couple weeks, you are going to board a plane from Los Angeles, right? You're leaving out of LA. From LA, you are going to fly to the other side of the world to go
Yes.
run a marathon. I want
Very
you to say that
excited.
out loud. I want you to say, because you're amazing. And right when you say it like that, like,
My passport right behind me, right there.
yes, yes. Okay, good. Make sure you've got all the things. Have you started packing?
I do. I have some travel adapters and I always have a array of things ready to go because we have done so many international trips at this point. I basically have everything pretty much packed except for clothes.
Okay, that's about where I am. I've got my clothes are in a
Yep.
basket. I just need to assemble them now. And like, yeah. Okay, so a little bit of a quicker round here. What has running
Okay.
given you that has nothing to do with running?
Oh gosh. Friends. A lot of friends that I've met through running. So meeting all the rad rabbits, just a lot of personal friends, a lot of communication with people in other industries, and just finding kind of
A community. That's the best. That's the best. I know we're going to meet up when we're in Sydney, but I hope I see you along the course. And I hope that I can encourage you because for me, encouraging somebody else is like exactly what I need in that tough moment. So you're going to come home. What day are you coming home?
oh gosh, first or second. And I'm going back to
Okay.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll send thoughts for you on that. Take good luck. Okay. So you're coming back. What do you hope that you're bringing with you besides a medal?
I always wanted to see one of those huntsman spiders, but I'm pretty sure I would get flagged at the airport if I brought one of those back home.
This conversation is over.
I see the look on the face.
Absolutely not, Leanne.
I do want to see one,
I
but honestly, I want
have
all the
heard we won't
memories.
see them in Sydney, by the way.
I know. I plan on driving out and seeing some somewhere. And then also holding a koala. It's more the memories and pictures and just thoughts.
Experience.
Yep. London, Cape Town, and then, yeah, Sydney. So number 3.
Woo! Oh, that's right, Cape Town. I keep forgetting you did Cape
Yep.
Town. I've heard is the
Yep.
hardest of all of them.
I don't really have experience with the others, so I couldn't tell you. But we did have an experience there. Mike broke his rib about 30 minutes after arriving in our hotel room. So he ran Cape Town, the 5K, and the full marathon with a broken rib. So it's not all about...
Can you guys not? Seriously. He broke his... And he still ran the marathon?
He still ran the marathon because he said, we flew all this way. I can't not do it. I at least have to get out there and try.
Both are wrapped in bubble wrap. Seriously.
He jokes about that. We have both joked about that because he is Superman on runs and he'll come home bloody, or I've fallen on runs and something catastrophic happens. So yeah, bubble wrap sounds pretty good to invest in at this point.
You really are that toy. I'm going to find the name of it.
Yeah.
Like, you just keep getting knocked down and I hate to use that song because my guest on last week's episode, she used that tub thumping, Chumbawamba tub thumping song, which is I get on, I get back up again. That's you. So you can't use that for this next question, which is when things get hard, what is one song you want to hear and why?
You know what? I think I would go with Unstoppable. Yeah, Unstoppable.
See ya. Okay. Also from Australia.
Yep.
I hope you plan on listening to that.
I do. It's always on a playlist. So we get knocked down, we do get up again, and we are unstoppable.
That's right. You are. You're so unstoppable in that finish line. If you could leave one message for someone to find on the day that they needed it most, what would it say?
Keep going. I actually have that written on my little road ID, is to keep going. So no matter how hard things get, just keep going.
So similarly, but yet still a different question, I believe that we all hit a mile 20 many times in life. You just basically shared with us 3 different walls that you've hit in the last 6 years in your life. You've already said keep going would be the message that you would give them. Sometimes, even with people saying keep going, I'd love for you to share just one more time why you keep going through these walls.
It's always for my kids, because I don't want them to give up when things get hard. I want them to see that they can push through and do those hard things, and they will be proud of themselves for doing it.
They will. And again, I think that you're going to see that show up in your kiddos as they become parents and they get older and they look back at maybe some of these things that other people are. Why would you have asthma, 75% of your lung capacity, you've had X, Y, and Z, and yet you're running, at least now that I know, you've got 3 marathons, 4 marathons booked or planning to be booked here in the next year.
Yep.
And I hope that your self-talk reminds you of that, just how incredible that you really are. And I would say I really appreciate you for being here today. And I am going to pull back the curtain just a little bit. I wasn't going to share this with those listening, but this is actually the second time Leanne and I have gotten to speak. The first time was supposed to be episode 1 of Hear Every Mile. But life isn't perfect. I, candidly, being the expert podcaster that I am, didn't hit record. We had sound issues. It was like, if anything could have happened, it happened. And I was so devastated the next day on my long run. I shared this all, actually that night, with my best friend, and she shared with me the pancake effect. And so if you aren't familiar with it, I would encourage you to Google it. But the pancake effect is when you start that batch of pancakes, that kind of first one is always going to be a little bit rough. And although Leanne and I both agree that we enjoy eating that one while we're making breakfast, because nobody noticed it was there anyway. But I want this to serve as a reminder that none of us are perfect. None of this is perfect. You're never going to have a perfect training cycle. You're never going to have a perfect podcast episode, a perfect post, perfect anything. And as many of us now are getting ready to send our kids back to school here in the next couple of weeks, maybe give yourself and your kiddos a little bit more grace around perfection, because as Leanne has demonstrated, she has existed and thrived in spite of all the things that have been thrown at her. And so I just really want to thank you for being here the second time, Leanne, and for letting us. Yeah, okay. Listen, thank you for coming back. Okay. But thank you for letting us into not just the miles that you're running, but the voices, your dad, your daughter. I know Mike is going to be running, and yet he's going to be there cheering for you as well. And he'll probably finish well before both of us, let's be honest, okay? He could probably get changed, eat, and then still meet us somewhere along the course to cheer. And that's okay, because we show up as the best versions of ourselves with what life has given us. And we show up anyway. And I personally can't wait to meet you in Sydney. I will also be running the 5K mini marathon, as they're calling it. And that's really why this show exists. Sometimes we need the right words, the right person to say the right things at the right time, essentially. So if something that Leanne shared today made you think of somebody special in your life, I want for you to send them this episode, because you never know which story or which words that someone might need for the mile that they're in right now. Every mile has a story. Every story has the power to encourage someone else. And as Leanne said, until next time, keep going.